It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting, either through my website, emailrevealer.com, or you could just email me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. If you like our show, be sure and check out our Patreon, Opperman Report Patreon, where we put exclusive content up there every Saturday night. And, of course, our archives are always free. You go to Spreaker.com, you can find the show for free. And there's a chat room in there. You get an email notification anytime we put up new content. I got for you today an incredibly fascinating story that you think you know. You think you heard of this story. But there's so much more to it. We have Ohio Attorney Rocky Ratliff, who's the attorney for 30-some plaintiffs in a lawsuit against Ohio State University for decades of sexual abuse that went on at this university. Mr. Ratliff, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much
for having me on.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to clarify that, I am an attorney here in Ohio. I've been licensed since 2012. Prior to that, I was a probation officer in the county that I'm in, which is Marion County, Ohio, and I did that for about 6 years. Also, prior to that, my background would be I was in juvenile corrections as at a rehab facility, lockdown rehab facility, for about 6 years. So that I have a background in criminal law, basically. But our firm here in Marion, I guess I'm in a unique situation as an attorney. I'm in with my father, who's been an attorney for about 42 years, and two other individuals, one of them being my brother, who also wrestled at Ohio State after me and was an All-American at Ohio State. So I have a unique situation in this case as I'm an attorney for 46 guys at Ohio State, and I have my own individual case, which my father represents me in against Ohio State because I was an athlete, former athlete at Ohio State. So, you know, I have a unique thing in this case because I was a former athlete there as well as an attorney.
And you're also a survivor of Dr. Strauss?
Yes. Basically, my wrestling career from high school, I went to a university, Hofstra University, for 2 years. I was a scholarship athlete there for 2 years, a starter. They fired our coach, so there was about 5 guys from Ohio that then transferred back. Me and my suite mate actually transferred back to Ohio State, one of the schools I was looking at when I originally left. So I wrestled at Ohio State from 95 to 97, and Dr. Strauss would have been let go ultimately in 98, but around there he stopped being, at some point in time, and while I was there, he stopped being our treating physician, if you will.
Oh, well, that's good news, at least, yeah. Well, explain to us what's the basis for this litigation. What went on at OSU?
Yeah, so from Dr. Strauss comes into OSU about 1979 to he ultimately is dismissed in 98, and they give him emeritus status, honorary status, and let him go out in the street. He practices here for a couple years, and then ultimately we know he goes to Southern California, or maybe Central California, somewhere in South California, where we believe he was treating underprivileged youth at like free clinic type establishment. And ultimately he commits suicide in 2005. But from 1979 to the end of his career, he was a professor at the university for medical students, obviously. He was working in the student health center where normal students would get their medications or be treated at the university. And then he was also part of the athletic department from 79 until, I believe, 96 is when he stopped being part of the athletic department because of one of the coaches, the fencing coach, had actually stepped up, and then they were having other problems with him. But then I think he kind of was phased out around 96, 97 is when he phased out. And this litigation involves, at least for my group, I have a couple things that are different than others, but the first part of our litigation is basically what Dr. Strauss was kind of doing to the athletes, and you have anywhere from just groping sessions with the athletes all the way to, depending on what athlete you're talking to, oral sex and or anal penetration with some of the guys. So it's a whole vast array of litigation as far as what he did to each individual guy. Then we also have where, and obviously he's a doctor at Ohio State. We're told to go treat with this guy, and then we go from that to there was our facility, and a lot of the facilities, but most of my clients' facilities was a place called Larkins Hall, where the athletes for wrestling, fencing, gymnastics, both male and female, swimming and diving, both male and female, are housed. That place was a very sexually deviant area, and athletes were getting almost daily where they would have people showering with them or masturbating to them or watching them or, taking pictures of them.
Well, let me stop you for a second, Mr. Ratliff.
Yep.
And the reason for that is that the college allowed anybody with a college ID, employment ID, you could be a landscaper over there, and they will let you go shower with the boys.
Yes, and for most people, probably your audience would get, this is the Student Health Center, the Student Activity Center, if you will,
okay,
where your intramural sports are going to be. This also houses classes. This building had classes, especially in the physical education department. So this building is ran by, I believe, the Department of Physical Education, which is under the education wing of Ohio State. So this was not an athletic facility. This was a huge facility, I think 3 or 4 stories. I mean, it had been around forever, but it would have your intramural basketball courts, and if you were going to get on a treadmill, you would be there. To get into this facility, it was monitored. You would need a student ID, and you would have to be a student or an employee or a staff member at The Ohio State University. So this is the people that are able to use this facility. That's where, a lot of the stuff, I think, where guys were really complaining to the university was under this, that they put us in an environment that had this kind of sexual deviancy.
Well,
and then the
can
last
you describe
part of
what the sexual deviancy was?
It's a lot of it, but on a daily basis, or at least an every other day basis, a wrestler would come in. You would go into your locker room, which was separate from everywhere. So we had a separate locker room, but we shared the bathrooms, the shower facilities, and a sauna. So for wrestlers, obviously cutting weight, we use the sauna quite a bit with the rest of the facility. So we had a separate locker room where we would change, we would come out, go to our practice, and then we would come back. Once you came back in the sport of wrestling, taking showers, they want you to do that immediately because the infection you can get from the wrestling mat or touching other guys that might be infected with skin diseases such as ringworm or impetigo or herpes or something like that. So it was very important that wrestlers shower right after their practice. When we would come down to shower, you obviously go into your locker room, you get undressed, and you get your towel on, and then you would go take a shower. Now, this is a public shower, an open shower. You would have guys that would come in that would sit there and masturbate to you. I mean, they would actually be erect and sit there and lather up and just start looking at you and start openly masturbating in the shower. Or you could find them in the stalls that if you open the door to, like a restroom stall, you could then see into the shower. So they would crack doors of that to watch you. They would come by, take pictures. There would be people that would just openly rub themselves in front of us. I mean, that's the stuff we're talking about. Plus, there was always guys being caught, and it was usually guy on guy. I mean, they've caught people in our wrestling room when I was there having sex, people outside in the bathroom outside the wrestling room having sex where we practiced, people in the stairwell that led to, it was a private stairwell that led to our wrestling room having sex. That's the kind of things that we're talking about.
And you made efforts to kind of change the time of the practices so that it wouldn't attract these men, right? But they would find that anyway.
Yeah, we were constantly doing anything we could to the coaches were. So the coaches would say, hey, we're going to move practice times in the hopes to not have this around. These efforts to not be around these guys or to get separate facilities, as far as we can tell, we're being told by our coaches, hey, we're trying to get out of here because this is a terrible environment for training for you guys. We're trying to go to other facilities. And we're changing practice times to hopefully then the crowd, so to speak, that show up. It was about 10 guys, 6 to 10 guys every day showing up to do these kind of activities aren't around us. The problem is once we changed it, somehow they knew we changed it, and it would go right back to what it was. So it wouldn't matter what time we had our practices. These guys would constantly show up.
Now, what about fist fights?
That was the life at Larkin's Hole.
Were any fist fights would break out or anything like that?
Well, you were told, or you knew, I guess, and they actually had meetings. I think there was in the complaint there would be meetings, in our complaint that we alleged, there was a meeting, especially in '93, where guys were so outraged they were about to the point of fighting, okay? Physically fighting. This wasn't like, these aren't guys that you would think, they're not physically imposing guys. Most of these guys are older. We thought were either staff members or professors at the university. So the fact of a young wrestler like ourselves, like prevailing in a fight was never a question. It's just whether you're going to do it and get in trouble by the university. There was a meeting held at least in 1993 where some of my clients were told by the then head coach that, hey, if you touch anyone, you yell, you touch, you grab them, any kind of fights, you're out of here, you're off this team, you're out of the university, and we're not going to sign a release so you can go wrestle anywhere else. So you pretty much got to take it. Now, the guys obviously objected to that and said, well, who's protecting us? And the coach just let us know, or let them know at the time, that, hey, you're there. That's what you're doing.
And who were those two coaches that ran that meeting?
Well, at that meeting would have been head coach Russ Hellickson, assistant coach Jim Jordon, and assistant coach Mark Coleman.
Assistant coach Jim Jordon. Is that the same Jim Jordon, Representative Jim Jordon? Yeah,
that would be the 4th District Congressman Jim Jordon.
Wears those short sleeve shirts all the time and doesn't wear a jacket and likes to badger people. I
don't know if it's short sleeve. I think he rolls his sleeves up to look like the hardworking man that he has there.
Right.
But that's his image. But that was known. But it was also known that if you potentially grab one of these guys, I mean, you're just going to be in trouble.
Yeah, you're going to lose your scholarship.
Be yelling to. Yeah, guys would constantly be cursing at these guys,
really,
or saying, "What are you looking at?" with some explicit language there, like, "What the hell are you looking at?" And then just keep going and going. And then sometimes the guys would leave, sometimes they wouldn't. But it was daily. They were trying to come in and have a peep show or watch us, and it was very disturbing for anybody at that time because we would just. The rigors of the sport, you're tired, you're hurt half the time, and these guys are constantly coming in just to basically watch you. It was just very disturbing.
They're constantly trying to make weight, too, always trying to lose weight and stuff.
We're losing weight. Yeah.
Brutal, yeah. Now, your lawsuit involves 46 guys, 46 students, but there's another lawsuit that involves how many other students?
Yeah, so currently, and I get this all the time where I got people that think that Ohio State did settle, but they settled with approximately about 30-some% of the claimants, so that would be 162 that they settled with. My lawsuit has 46 plus my own, so 47 are with me. There's another 100 and approximately 5 guys with a firm. Multiple attorneys are in that. The lead attorney is named by Rex Sharp. He's out of Kansas. And there's a couple guys in there that I know, Steve Etsy and Robert Allard. Steve Etsy is, I know, involved in the Michigan or the state up north lawsuits that they have with their doctor that was pretty much doing the same thing. And then Robert Allard out in California, I think he dealt or is continuing to deal with USA Gymnastics. I think he had some cases with them concerning the state up north, Michigan State's girls with Dr. Nasser. So that's that group of kind of the head attorneys there. Then there's another group of about 93 individuals, a main group which is